Hi, everybody. Just sit back and relax and listen to the sound of my soothing voice. This is Creative Crypto ASMR to help you relax and fall into a deep, deep bear market. Crypto's dead. And so are you.
One man saying that is fine. If that's your opinion and you're not in it, that's fine. But there is an entire market of millions and millions of people that agree that it is a store of value. So, you can think one thing, but there's also a market, and markets tend to become efficient over time.
We do know that you will always get paid in Hex on a daily basis. And that is truly the miracle that we call Hex, because it is trustless interest, trustless yield. Nothing will stop that contract from running.
Would you like fries with that?
Welcome in, everybody, to the Creed of Crypto. My name is Burger King Boy Crypto. I started picking up an extra shift Tuesday and Thursday nights, 5 to 10 p.m., $11.25 an hour. I am the latest fry cook at the Burger King down the street. So welcome into all of you here, as always, with my friend and co-host Crypto Ewok. We have Checks My Pulse in the chat, Valiant Low Key, D-Gen Moonboy Scrubhead, and Carol Tender. Welcome to you guys. As everybody pours in, do us a favor and hit the like button to help support real DeFi, help support PulseChain, even if it feels like crypto is altogether on its way to a big fat zero. We got a lot to get into tonight. Is this a bear market pivot? Over the weekend, a big move came. So it's hard to, 1 week in crypto is like a lifetime in other markets, but it's hard to realize that just last week when we were on the air, Bitcoin was still, I think, $10,000 higher than it is right now. And over the weekend, of course, went deep down into the 70s, max fear from everybody. As we sit here right now, into the low 70s. Everybody, of course, calling for at minimum 55K by the end of this year. A lot of people saying 35 to 45K, hedging their bets and stuff like that. And if anything, makes sense, they'll probably be right. That's pretty much what's happened this entire bull market. But yeah, we'll get into Bitcoin and Ethereum in a minute. But that's kind of the state of where things are right now. Welcome into all of you guys. Ewok, how you feeling on this Wednesday evening?
Feeling good. Yeah, I mean, it is what it is, right? There's not a damn thing we can do about it. So, just watch and wait. That's where we're at, unfortunately. And I'm, seeing more and more people getting shaken out, which is ultimately better. The better, the more that happens, the quicker this can be over with. Now, have we really gone into full bear market mode? I'm not sure. Is this a pullback? I'm not sure. I'm still staying bullish, because we didn't get to see anything. There are still a lot of things pointing in the right direction for us, even though the charts aren't showing that. So yeah, exactly, Scrubhead. I keep believing, and eventually we'll be right. I just don't know when. If we only had a time frame on that, that would be wonderful. But that's where we're at, and unfortunately, you just got to stick through it. Fight the urge to be negative, and yeah, that's it.
We are the proverbial broken clock, so we'll see how it goes. Maybe one of these days we'll actually be in profit, but that's a hell of a long way off, I think, for most people. So, yeah, it is definitely interesting where we're at right now. And, another reason that you can be trying to build things in your own time. If you have a day job, trying to do better there as much as, maybe you're wanting to pivot from that eventually, but whatever you can do in the meantime, we can't just sit on our hands and complain about the price. Like Ewok just said, I mean, you can't make it move or anything. If there's no other action you're going to take other than DCAing, then you just try to be doing whatever you can in the meantime.
Well, even at that, we did recommend last week or the week before to stop DCAing. We're still on a downward trend until we get at least some sort of reversal looking thing. Save your DCA. We're obviously getting better prices. So, my recommendation was to hold off on DCAing for a little bit, only because of that trend. And maybe once we get some sort of reversal, then pick it back up. At least if you're doing that, you are getting a much better entry point than the people that just sacrificed and that's it. No more at all. If that's all they did, they're way down and they're hurting. I get it. So, there are people out there like that, and they've given up and are taking it really rough. For those who have bought the whole way down, there are better price entries at least, and you do have some hope for some of this to be in profit in the not so distant future. So, again, if we had to wait for the whole way to get back to sacrifice, where that's all that was invested from the start, then yeah, that's a long way off. But
yeah,
anyway, that's my recommendation. Hold off DCAing until we see some sort of turnaround or some sort of reversal, at least, and then go back at it. But it's your money. Do what you want.
And we'll get there more specifically here in a bit. But let's take a look at Bitcoin and Ethereum. So we have Bitcoin right now plunging down to 73K. It was in the 72 range a little bit earlier. Why not go to 69? That sounds like a nice number to me. But yeah, I mean, a lot of people have been calling to get down to 75K for a while. We're below that. And the other reason I made the 69 joke, though, is because that was the old bull market high from 2021. So, I mean, we're virtually there. This is the double, triple top from before region that we're in right now. And then if you fall through 69, I mean, you're probably going to 55 that everybody's talking about. I guess we'll see. I mean, everybody's expecting it. And listen to what you were just saying. Like, we are kind of perma bulls, and you're just sitting there saying, stop DCAing. You're going to get lower prices. I don't want to say what if you're wrong, because we've been cursed for 4 fucking years at this point. I'm not going to. You're probably right, but the fact that you are assuming, well, I wouldn't DCA anymore. I get it. I'm not blaming you or anything. I'm just stating it as a market sentiment fact that, like,
sure,
everybody is thinking it at this point. So, not blaming you or anything. And I'm not DCAing everything I have right now either. So, that's where BTC is. 73K at the moment. We've got ETH at 2150 at the moment, kind of holding up at that range. And this has been a huge support level that people were pretty much guaranteeing it was going to go down to. As usual, the mainstream crypto people are right. They've won for 4 years now, and they can't stop winning. So Ben Cohen is Jesus Christ at this point. Ethereum is down to 2150. I really don't care about Bitcoin anymore. I just want Ethereum. It'd be very cool. Hey, send Bitcoin to 55. See you later. If Ethereum stuck at 2K, which I'm sure it wouldn't be able to do, at that point, that would be freaking awesome. But yeah, ETH will probably go to 1400, and Bitcoin will go to, let's call it 10K. Maybe ETH will flip Bitcoin in the bear market here. Anyway, I'm just saying a bunch of weird stuff. But what do you think here, Ewok? Again, over the weekend, I think it got a lot of people shook up and scared if they weren't already. I think it got a lot more people there. Saturday morning, I was out and about, and I saw it dip into 70Ks, and I'm like, oh boy, this is looking rough. So what do you think here?
Yeah. So first thing I'm pulling up, since I'm already here on this, the ratio anyway, it did exactly. Remember how I said we were coming to a point where it needed to decide what it was going to do, and it did. It dipped out of that trend, the flag anyway, and it's gone lower. Now it has kind of stayed within another small range. It may be a little too early to draw it, but well, what the hell? Let's do it. It's looking. Oops.
Jesus, are you drunk?
No, I was trying to expand it out a little bit, but
wasting time here. I could be picking up a shift on it.
I know you could. You could be earning more flipping burgers and pulling fries. But anyway, this I don't know. We'll just we'll call it this little trend in here that we'll keep an eye on anyway and see what happens with this. But yeah, no, so the ratio at least has kind of slowed down. Now, like I said, I freaking blew that way up just to do that, but that does not look good. It's in free fall mode right now. I agree with your sentiment, though. I mean, I wouldn't care if Bitcoin dropped down into the 50s and 60s. I don't know that it'll get that low. So if we took the high of 70K, 69K, and realized after that it had gone down to 15. I wonder is there a ratio that holds up? Because I remember when we hit the 20K top, it got down to about 3,400 or something like that was the low. So I just wonder if there's a relative range of, okay, this is how far it usually goes up. This is how far it does pull back, whether it's, I know the first one, it was 95% the first cycle. Second one was like 90, then 85%. Are we at like 80% this time? So, right. If that 130 was the top, what is 80% of that? So, that's something that probably calculate and take a look at. But anyway, I digress. Let's go back to Bitcoin here. Our next big move is the resistance line at about 51,000, because we did break through this one that I said was important here at 75, and it went right through it. So I don't know. We'll see if it chops around. I'm sure there's a range in here somewhere, probably between 75 and 70 of hit points, previous ones. But if it continues to go, it could go all the way down to 51, 52 area. 51.8 is what I have marked here. And again, these are just important levels where it did meet some resistance and bounced off in the past. So, that's all these really are. They're not Fibonacci lines or percentage pullbacks. I'm just going to where there was support in the past. So that's why these lines are here anyway. But yeah, it's in free fall mode. So this, if things haven't shaken people out yet, this will probably do it. Now, how far does it go? I mean, because we've been on a downtrend since, essentially it's been flat ever since July, and then just kind of on a downward trajectory. I mean, it's been flat hell since November of 24, if you want to look at it that way. It did get up to 125. I don't even really think, I mean, it was still in a range, right? So, I mean, we never really got a full run.
Definitely no blow off top. Yeah.
There was no blow off top. There was no insanity. There was no bubble that was created. It just kind of fizzled. So that's why, we've always thought that there's more to this. This isn't it. And this could be a fake out for all we know. But, it's just not appearing that way right now. Again, things like this are what really shake people out. And I kind of really enjoy to hear people say, well, it's over. It's over. It's done. Because when that happens is when something always good happens. So anyway, that's where we are.
That's the interesting thing now is now the Bitcoin people get to join everyone else in crypto who's been in a bear market for 4.5 years, basically. And frankly, like a lot of people that are like, I just heard someone say it the other day, like 2025 being a bull market for Bitcoin. It was a red year. I understand within the calendar year, it was 126K. Yeah. It was a red year for Bitcoin. So like these people who are like, yeah, everything's the same, blah, 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 blah. Ethereum was certainly a bear market in 2025. I just think that we have to throw and whatever. I mean, you can say it's cope or whatever. And like, you used to believe in the 4-year cycle and now you don't. Well, things look different now. And, a bear market can be defined by things other than just randomly 4 years. I mean, Ethereum had 9 red monthly candles in 2025. It barely even made a new all-time high. It was one day, didn't even close above it, I don't think.
3 hours.
Yeah,
Maybe.
exactly. So I mean, we've been in a bear market. This is the first real cycle, if you want to call it 4-year cycles, that Bitcoin and any other cryptos in existence went through it under a quantitative tightening environment the entire time, basically. So that could also lead to, why did Bitcoin not have a blow off top? It didn't even do a 2x from last cycle. Ethereum did nothing. Altcoins did nothing at all. They were ravaged. So yeah, it's those were the environments. And that's why we're in this interesting timing now. And I mean, we're going to get into this kind of in a moment. Maybe this is probably a good transition into this now that I'm thinking. But we have all this stuff happening with macro and the Fed and everything. So, I mean, these are where the prices are at. Everybody's expecting the normal 2026 is going to be the equivalent of 2022 and 2018 and all these different things where, you crash to a bottom at the end of the year. But we were under quantitative tightening to a higher extent than Bitcoin had ever seen in its existence, as well as all the altcoins. Now we had, in just looking at timeframes here. So in September of last year is when the Fed started to cut rates. So like in earnest. So we've had a few rate cuts by then. That has been ongoing. We didn't have one this past meeting, but they've been cutting rates. We're getting into that environment. December 1st of last year is when the balance sheet started to basically they started to ease the balance sheet. They're definitively printing money and back channels going into central banks and stuff like that. They're printing like $40 billion a month right now. So it's happening. It's stealth. It's not like you're getting a stimmy check in the mail, but we know that they're printing money in the background right now. They don't want to tell you that, obviously, because they know they're kicking the can down the road and devaluing the dollar. We have Jerome Powell leaving in 3 months. The replacement, it has been named. We'll talk about him, Kevin Warsh, that Trump just appointed, who is definitely somebody who wants to run things a little bit more hot, and I think will be cutting rates at first, but is, of his options, I believe was a hawkish option for Trump. I don't know how much that really means, though. I mean, I still think the guy is going to do pretty much the kind of things that Trump wants to do, at least in the short term. So we've got that. And then we've got the Business ISM just released the PMI data for January on February the 2nd, and a shocker reading came out. It was projected to be 48. It's been below 50 for a very long time. Above 50 is generally considered economic expansion. Below is the opposite. And we haven't had a reading over 50 in, I think, at least a year. And it was only like one. There was no streaks over 50 for a while. So that was a huge, huge shocker of positive news. Now, there's already people that are shitting on that, wet blanketing that, saying, well, it's tariff stuff. It's because the holidays just got over and all these people did really well and things like that. It's just going to go back below. Maybe it will, probably will, with how things have gone the last few years. But there's a lot of things tangibly lining up to lead you to think that you would see kind of a not perfect storm, but all the ingredients are there where assets like this would do well. And I know that breaks the paradigm of like what Bitcoin usually does and all these things, but it does explain why ETH and altcoins were so horrible over the last few years under all the tightening. And now we've got all these good things coming. Does that mean that there's a bull market this year or into next year and things look different? I don't know. Does that mean that it makes, if this is a bear market, more palatable because things never ran that hard and now good news is coming out and then we will do really well in 28 and 29? I don't know. I just know that, you don't want to sell low and buy high. You want to do the opposite, and we're not in a position to do that yet. So, what do you think about all these things lining up? Because it is definitely a lot.
Well, yeah, and we've been talking about the perfect storm of all of these things. Just why is it doing what it's doing when we've got the perfect storm, right? We've got so many things lining up the right way, what we think should be the right way. Everything's pointing in that direction. Why is it doing what it's doing? And then, while we're here on the charts, I'm still going to pull up this gold chart, right? You have to, because then you see shit like this that just doesn't make any kind of sense. So obvious manipulation. I mean, that's all we can really, blame it on. I don't know how something like this could happen naturally. It just it makes no sense. Whether the banks, whether the Fed themselves are doing weird, like somebody's doing something, right? We've got all these perfect alignment things that are pointing in the direction where things should go bullish. Things are lining up to be that way, and then you get a crash in gold like this. Now, did the gold crash affect that? What you call it, the ISM, or what caused that? I'm really not sure. The business anyway. There are so many things that are pointing in the right direction, and then you see stuff like this where it just nothing makes sense. There is no rhyme or reason to it anymore. The 4-year thing where we might as well just throw that out the window because it's gone all out of whack. So yeah, I mean, that's where we're at. Things should be looking up. Things should be good. Are we on hold again till, like you said, 28, 29? Man, I can't think so. I can't think it would take that long. You got the next presidential election would be in 28. So I just don't know anymore. Like I said, the only thing that I can think is clear manipulation, and I've thought this all along. I think that crypto is becoming very important to whatever move that they're trying to make. Obviously the dollar has gone to shit. The value of it is nothing. Something needs to be done to structure a new type of currency, a new backed something. I originally thought when all this gold was going up, are they going to reback the dollars again with gold? Is that going to be a play that they may try to save it? And who, I don't think that, but I thought something along those lines may be at play, where maybe a combination. Is it a combination of gold and crypto, silver? All of these things are backing now the dollar. Would that strengthen it? It's going to take something big, or or a complete just change over to a new type of currency. And my thought is that the government, these big entities, are manipulating the price on purpose to fill their bags while everybody just freaks out. And they said they eventually wanted to have a 5% share of Bitcoin, as far as the government goes anyway. So yeah, who knows? It's one of those, just you throw your hands up and you just have to wait. That's all we can do for the little guy. Unfortunately, if there's dips, keep trying to accumulate more. You definitely don't want to get left behind. You definitely don't want to sell at a loss. So what else can you do?
Yeah, I agree. So let's just real quick, we don't have to dive way deep into each one, but of the things that I mentioned there. So the appointment of Kevin Warsh. So this was talked about for a while, and he was one of about 3 or 4 different names that was mentioned by Trump as a new Fed chair. What do you make of this selection? We can play it real quick because it is only like a minute-long clip, but there's a clip of him I sent you where he is talking about crypto. I know that's been floating around a lot. And kind of what the rundown is on him. I've mentioned most of it already, basically just that I think he's going to carry out the things that Trump wants him to do right now. I don't know how he will be long term, but it sounds like the main headline from him is Jerome Powell is taking an approach where they're printing money right now and cutting rates to try to avoid some kind of economic emergency happening, whereas Warsh, he talked about it on an interview I just saw the other day. He was around in 2008. He is in favor more of like, let whatever the emergency is happen, and then we'll take care of it. So either way, the money printing is going to continue. That's the headline there. Everybody's so afraid that it's like, oh, this sounds like you might be hawkish, whatever. None of the people that are ever running the federal government the Fed are going to stop printing money. I mean, that's going to be a constant no matter what. So I know there's a lot of fear about that, but at the end of the day, I heard somebody put it perfectly the other day. It's like if you're working a job all it is you're going to get paid. Do you want to get paid bi-monthly or monthly? You know what I mean? It's like it's going to happen one way or the other, just at different intervals or whatever. So yeah, go ahead. We can play this video of Kevin Warsh.
You made reference to Bitcoin, and I thought I heard a little bit of condescension that people are buying Bitcoin and these things.
But doesn't it? Charlie Munger, this is 2 or 3 years before he died, Charlie Munger attacked Bitcoin. He called it evil, in part because it would begin to undermine the Fed's ability to manage the economy.
Or it could provide market discipline, or it could tell the world that things need to be fixed.
Bitcoin does not make you nervous.
Bitcoin does not make me nervous. I can hearken back to a dinner I had here in 2011 with someone who is another guest on your show. I won't say his name. Okay, I just did Mark Andreessen, who showed me the white paper. That was the original white paper. I wish I had understood as clearly as he did how transformative Bitcoin and this new technology would be. Bitcoin doesn't trouble me. I think of it as an important asset that can help inform policymakers when they're doing things right and wrong. It is not a substitute to the dollar. I think it can often be a very good policeman for policy. And if I were to speak more broadly to what did Charlie Munger and others perhaps have in mind, there is a proliferation of securities that go under all sorts of names. Many, if not most of them, are not worth what they're might be being traded for. So what did Charlie say, and maybe his pal Warren say? There's the innovators, the imitators, and the incompetents. They're real innovators that are happening in and around that new technology. And what I would try to impart towards businesses and bankers is that the underlying technology that Mark showed me in that white paper, or tried to show me in that white paper, it's just software. It's just the newest, coolest software that will provide us an ability to do things that we could never have done before. Can the software be used for good and evil? Yes, both, like all software. So I don't cast aspersions like that. If there's a final point, it's these technologies are being built here. I don't just mean on Stanford campus. I believe in the United States. And the world's most talented engineers from China and Europe and everywhere, they come to the United States even now to try to build this stuff. And my view is by building it here, that gives us an opportunity to be more productive and create something very special over the next decade.
So yeah, I don't know how important it is, but I mean, definitely supportive of Bitcoin and crypto. I mean, a lot of people say that and they're totally full of shit. But and again, I don't even know how important that is. It's more so what his policy is going to be. But definitely seems more favorable than Jerome Powell, I think, in a lot of ways. But yeah, what did you make of that anyway?
Yeah, I mean, he's got an open mind, and he brought I think we brought it up a couple shows ago too, about how Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger were calling it rat poison and this and that, and it's because they didn't have any. Obviously, guys like that are afraid of the change, right? They don't own any. They don't want, they can't things that they. It's like us, right? We don't talk a whole lot about things we don't own, and that's how they are. So, I think this is completely bullish for the whole ecosystem. Again, he's bringing up the point that there are bad things out there. There are, imitators, and there are scammers that are out there. So, along with the innovation and the adoption of it, you have to really be careful. And we've been preaching that all along too. So, I mean, I think that's just essentially what he's saying. You always go back to the point that crypto was invented to get rid of the middleman, and here we go, injecting a lot more middlemen. And that is my fear. I think at some point they are going to try to limit what we do as a self-custodian of our own. We believe in that. We don't want to give our crypto to somebody else to hold. That's not how it's done. It's not how it's supposed to be done. And I do believe that Richard will always fight for that. the self-custody, whatever you want to call it, even though you can't really hold something that's, you have the power to know of a password to have access to it. But yeah, again, just one more of those things that are bullish for this whole ecosystem. How can it not be, right?
Yeah. It's again I sent you guys I was talking to ChatGPT the other day to figure this out, but like just the kind of Bermuda Triangle, the triumvirate of, you know, Fed printing money, ISM coming in over 50 at least for now, which there's already people mocking that people are bringing up the ISM PMI readings and stuff like that, which fine. You know what? I don't want that bad juju. I don't want people on Twitter that are bulls saying like, the PMI just came in over 52. You have no idea what's coming. Alt season, the largest alt season you've ever seen. Can we shut the fuck up with that? Like everybody, every narrative, every big thing was supposed to be great over the last 4 years, like, oh, the M2 money supply and Bitcoin, like none of it worked out. None of it came true. Can we stop with the like victory lapping something that hasn't even remotely happened yet? I just wish people would do that. It's a positive thing. I'm glad that PMI reading came in, but let's not put the cart before the horse. And how about we earn something before we victory lap it a little bit?
Well, and you know, you say that, and at the same time, then I see other people be like, man, if I had only just put it all in Solana, I would be so much better off. And like, it hasn't happened yet, people. You can't, it's hard to say if I only had done this. If I only just sat on my hands and waited, that's another option, right? You know, in 6 months, things could be completely different. We just don't know. And that's where we're at. And I hate when people do that whole, you know, I'm so mad at myself for getting into PulseChain because this has been such a train wreck. Yeah, well, it has. If I only had bought Solana instead. Well, you know, again,
you know,
yeah, we don't know. We don't know the ending. The ending hasn't been written yet. So it's very hard to listen to people who speak that way. You know, especially when, like we said, we keep saying it over and over, things are lining up for something good. Will it happen? We don't know, but you know, it's a better scenario with the things that are set up than the other way around. If the world was burning around us and everything just going to shit, then I'd say this may not get very good. But from what I'm seeing, it's hard to believe that it can't get better. So
yeah, you just want to place your bets with you know, the direction you think things are going, and you continue to do that. You don't pivot like I put on the thumbnail tonight and sell everything and go into something else. I mean, that's buying. Selling high, whatever I'm trying to say, selling low and buying high. So anyway, that's pretty much it for that. And I'm kind of just moving around how we usually do things a bit because there's so many interesting kind of macro-ish things before we talk about PulseChain specifically. So if you guys are here and enjoying the stream, do us a favor, hit the like. We appreciate you being here. We do this every Wednesday night at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Let's real quick talk about the gold and metal manipulation thing, because I know you wanted to get into that a little bit more, and it is absolutely wild. So, you know, it kind of coincided with what we were talking about with the macro stuff and everything, but it's been an odd mystery here, you know, over the last year, just the upcharge of gold and even more so silver. And, you know, those are usually, you know, flights to safety, and you don't see the kind of pumps, the crypto style pumps in precious metals anymore. Well, usually in crypto, when there's a huge pump, there is a dump. And that is what happened with gold and silver. It's honestly unbelievable. You had the chart up. For this to happen to these assets, if you will, of all that there are in existence, is just insane. Like a 40% drop in silver over just a few days. It's just I don't know. I don't have any words for it. It's just insane how much it's run up and come back down. You talked about it being manipulation. Clearly, this has been a retail trap. I mean, we see it in crypto usually every bull cycle, not this one. I guess they went to precious metals this time and went back in time. But you don't get huge wicks up like that without retail aping into something. We saw people in line putting physical gold in sacks and walking away, you know, out of whatever the hell, the gold dealership. I don't know anything about that stuff. So, yeah. What do you make of this? I mean, clearly retail trap, but the manipulation too. And if you want to play just a small part of that one video that you had, I don't want to bog us down for over 5 minutes or something. But yeah, what do you make of all this?
Well, yeah, I mean, well, let's play this first, because I mean, he kind of speaks to it way better than I can. So here, let's share this. It's 4 minutes. I'm just going to play the first minute and a half
Until
or
it
so,
seems
but
not worth it anymore.
yeah, when you feel that way, let me know. Are we
Okay.
on the right screen here?
Yep, you're good.
Well, we just had another one of those market events that really shouldn't be possible happen again. Check out this post from Bark Meta. If you don't follow him, highly recommend. He's got some good takes. And these charts kind of tell the story. $3 trillion knocked out in a matter of minutes in some of the largest markets in the world. Gold and silver. This should not be possible. This is not just people clicking the sell button. This is at least coordinated activity by banks, market makers, hedge funds. It's either racketeering or it's counterfeiting or it's both. This should alarm every American. The market controls the price of oranges, onions, oil, lumber, you name it. They can squeeze you constantly through this manipulation. And then you have to go to those same parasitic entities, those same banks, in order to get a credit card, which they'll happily give you at 30% interest. This is ridiculous. At what point is something done about this? Where is the SEC? At what point do they look at this and say, oh, you know what? Maybe there is something there. At what point do they look at the MMTLP situation, the GameStop situation, AMC, the old BBBY, any of these things? At what point do they say, okay, you know what? Maybe average Americans are getting screwed and we need to do something about this. What's the deal? You guys getting paid off? Is it kickbacks? Are you inept? Are you lazy? What is it? What is your mission? It is to protect investors. Where is that protection? What are you guys doing? Do something, anything at this point. Announce anything. It's ridiculous. We know these banks have been short on paper, precious metals. Look what happened to nickel not long ago. They shut down trading as soon as it started to go parabolic. And then they reversed the trades. Why?
That's good.
Like GameStop's.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So what do you make of that though?
Well, I mean, exactly my sentiment. I feel like things have just been so over manipulated. There has to be so many large entities behind this. It's crazy. And you look around and you see this, and you know, when crazy things happen, when the markets get out of control, they just hit the stop button. Like Coinbase does it all the time. They turn off trading. When things get upside down, they did it when GameStop was going the wrong direction. They all had shorts on it, and the public was buying the shit out of it. They turned it off. They turned off trading. So that's their answer to this. And at what point do they step in? That is my question as well. Like, why is nothing being done? And I just don't get how, nobody says anything. Nobody seems to care. It's just like, oh man, the charts went down. That's crazy. And you look at it and you know it's clear manipulation. So, I mean, for the small guy like us, what do you do? What is there to do? I mean, it doesn't matter what I think. I don't know that there's anything that can be done. So,
yeah, something like this clearly looks like manipulation, and not only that, but just stupid retail doing what they typically do. And just interesting and kind of weird that it happened in metals this time of all things. But it's one of those things that, like, when you're rushing down to buy gold at new all-time highs, where were you last year? Where were you 5 years ago? It's like, this is the thing. Most people don't have a thesis. Most people don't have a belief or anything like that. So we get made fun of, people that are hardcore in certain altcoins or whatever that have certain principles will get made fun of because you're down a lot for a long period of time, but you're actually believing. And then when it goes up, you're not saying, oh my God, what's this? Everybody else is buying it. I got to buy it. That's not the way you make money. So,
well, and another thing with the metals, okay, say you had 100 ounces of silver or gold, or say 100 ounces of gold, and you want to get rid of it and you want to take profits. Do you know how hard it is to get rid of 100 ounces of gold?
I imagine
it's not easy. And to find someone to give you a decent price, even close to spot, they're not going to do it. They're going to take a rake as well. They're going to give you probably 5% less than whatever the spot price is. So that's why we stick with crypto. Yes, they're crazy. It's crazy to hold it. I guess if you're going to be long term, just sitting on it, then it's okay. But it's hard to take profits in that stuff, and then you see how the manipulation is on top of it. It just pushes me away even more. Now I do have a little bit of each. Like I don't have crazy amounts of it, and it's not something that exactly. You go to a pawn shop, they're going to lowball the hell out of you. You're probably at 5-10% below spot just to get rid of something that large because they want to make some money on it. So
plus it's some old musty dusty room at a pawn shop with some guy named Dale or something, selling fucking, I don't know, crack pipes and who knows what else. But anyway, crack pipes.
But yeah, I mean, that's where we are with it. So, everyone says, why crypto? Well, it's easy to buy. It's easy to sell if you know what you're doing. I know some of this stuff for us, we've learned along the way how to do it, how to bridge. There are some more intricate steps to getting in to PulseChain at least. But I think that's what still makes it special and way undervalued is one of these days it's going to be super easy to get to. And it's just another rail. It's just like Ethereum. So we're just way early. That's my take on all of this is we're just way early. DJ Moonboy just said it right after I did. We said it basically about the same time. So we're just way early to the party. So but as far as the manipulation goes, something's got to be done. Something's got to be done by the SEC, preferably, because that's what they're there for. They're there to protect the investor. They don't do that.
Yeah. All right. So there you go. There's your metals report for this week. All right, let's move on over to PulseChain. This is about the latest in the show I think we've ever gotten to it, and we'll try to speed run some of this stuff because we have a lot of interesting stuff. So looking at the PulseChain ecosystem, yeah, of course, it is down and down hard, as is the case with a lot of altcoins. We've got Pulse right now at 4 zeros and 1104. PulseX, PulseX working on that's dangerously close to the previous all-time low. I can't remember if it is or it's right there. I know, but added a 0, 5 zeros, 8764. Inc at 48.5 cents. Hex 0017 and eHex at 3 zeros, 7089. And Ewoks PDI I think is at 0012 or something like that. Oh wow, exactly right. Wow, I did not know that. All right, so that is where we are, and yeah, I mean, we've been talking a lot about this show about not wanting to DCA right now, being extremely cautious, catching a falling knife, and there's been a lot, not just with PulseChain, but I mean, like if you're somebody that's interested in an alt that you have a lot of belief in or whatever, I mean, even Ethereum, even Bitcoin, really at this point, it's like, am I catching a falling knife if you're DCAing right now? And a lot of people like to wait for a reversal, wait for an uptrend. And I think for people who are like longer term swing traders, that makes sense. But also for people who are long term investors that, have just a, time in which you DCA, maybe you're not as concerned if it's a small amount of money here and there that you're DCAing and it looks like a falling knife. And sometimes, hey, you look at some of these crypto charts, altcoin charts over the last few years, look before the bottom, before it ripped, and tell me where in the chart it looked like that was going to happen. You know what I mean? So a lot of these, Ripple, I mean, you look at a lot of these old charts, it's like this just triangled right out of that, V-shaped right out of it, and went right up. So you're not going to catch the bottom. Nobody's trying to say to do that, but I understand being cautious here. Yeah, the pulse chart does not look good. So what do you think here? And I don't know where we're going to go. It depends on all this, macro stuff that we've been talking about, really.
Well, yeah, I mean, you look at this trend line, it's definitely headed downward. It isn't even close. Now, what was talking about is some sort of reversal. You look at this, can't get these out of there. You look at this green candle that happened here. You may say, oh, well, this could be a reversal. And you look at those type of things, to maybe put a clip in. But as it's falling day after day after day, I think it's a waste of time when you could be getting a better entry. Again, I think somebody in the chat said it earlier, the farther we fall, the more likely this is to have potential to do a 10,000x. If we add another zero to this, you get to a penny and you've done 10,000x. Yeah, I mean, even 1,000x at this point would put us right back at, I think, SAC, right? Or we would be, sorry, it would be a penny. 1,000x would be a penny from
we're
here.
a 10x from SAC. Yeah, I mean, that's crazy to think. I mean, 10x just to SAC,
Yeah, just to sacrifice. So, and that adds 2 more zeros to a penny. So, the further it drops, the more likely it is if it does ever run. Now, who knows? There are going to be people out there saying PulseChain's dead. The more people that say that, the more likely I am to buy more. I just don't see Richard letting it go. I don't see him letting it die. So I think he's going to do everything in his power to get that glory. And I still feel the same love for Hex. That is still my favorite out of this whole ecosystem. I just think it's way undervalued. But you can't wait for Richard to do something. The markets have to turn around. Richard cannot single-handedly do it either.
He's just making a joke there. He's the guy.
No,
he's just
I know.
Tablets, by the way. Yeah,
I know. Yeah, good job, Eddie, on the tablets. Thank you for handing them out in Arizona. We love to see that stuff. So, but yeah. So anyway, again, you look for little places like this area down here where there is a bit of a reversal. You're right. You're never going to catch a bottom. Likely not. If you have some limit orders put in, that would be a good option. I don't know as far as PulseChain goes, if you can do that on Matcha, or if there's any kind of, I think, can you still do single-sided liquidity on 9-inch?
I'm pretty sure you can do that. Yeah.
So
Matcha would support that.
Yeah. So I mean, that would be the way that I would guess would be the best way to do it. Put some single-sided liquidity in a lower range and pick some up if it hits that level. So, but yeah, no, we have not broken through this downtrend. We broke through it here, and it didn't hold. So until we get through this trend and stay above it, things are looking very bad. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. So that's why I suggested holding off on the DCA. At least we could gain another zero, and then you're even better off in those type of levels. So
yeah, I think I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I think
that's good.
Is the bad thing here. You know what I mean? If you have a huge lump sum, I do not think that's a good idea, because that really wouldn't be DCAing necessarily. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, I think taking little stabs at it here and there, if you are getting some money back here in this first quarter, maybe spread it out over the course of the year, something like that, whatever you want to do. But aping, I don't think is a good idea. So I agree with you there.
Fully agree.
And to your point too, I mean, that's the thing with all of altcoins just heinously butchered over the last few years. It really comes down to belief in what it is you're holding. So do you believe in Solana and the, pump.fun crazes, and all those people are actually in lawsuits right now and stuff like that? Do you believe in like some of these other chains like Solana that has token unlocks, the chain goes down all the time and stuff like that? Or would you rather saddle up with the ethos of Richard Hart, the things that he's professed over the last few years? I know everybody's shitting on it right now because the prices are down, but guess what? PulseChain has clearing that Ethereum doesn't even have. It is a certified commodity. It won in court. A judge sided 100% with Richard Hart in every way, didn't settle or anything. It has legal clarity that nothing else in crypto has. XRP settled. Okay, PulseChain, Hex, all that won in court over the SEC, the big bad SEC. You forget this stuff. And, you know, Richard's not going anywhere. He is in it to win it. He's not going to go away. And yeah, it's just belief in the guy. It's just the same reason that people invest in Tesla, SpaceX, whatever, because they believe in Elon, which I think Richard is a much more stable person I'd rather be backing than Elon or Trump, to be honest, if you're looking at those kind of personalities. But yeah, I would just rather hitch my ride to that kind of ethos, and it's the belief in him and his core values and core beliefs with crypto. So, yeah, you got all these other ones with token unlocks, heavily VC backed and stuff like that. I just would not be interested in any of that. Yep. So, yeah,
fully agree. Fully agree.
Yeah. I feel like there was one other point I wanted to make from what you were saying, but I guess that's about it. Yeah, just kind of casually DCAing. So, which thing to get to here, because there's some good stuff. Let's do the L2 Vitalik thing real quick, okay? Because this is something that Richard has talked about for a really long time. Not even just Richard. I mean, a lot of people talked about why layer 2s actually are kind of a vampire attack and shitty for Ethereum. And Vitalik Buterin, obviously the creator of Ethereum, just came out the other day, basically acknowledging this finally himself after all this time. He was trying to play nice and peaceful and stuff with L2s for all this time. And I think he's just realizing that ETH is just getting cucked over the last few years. I mean, you know, higher fees actually are good in a way because it shows the demand of the chain. Mm-hmm. Now, they've obviously implemented tech stuff that's make the fees come down a lot too. But, you know, you've seen this mind share go away from Ethereum because of these layer 2s and different things like that. So this was just, I think, from yesterday. So Vitalik said there have recently been... Whoa, where are you going?
Sorry.
There have recently been some discussions on the ongoing role of L2s in the Ethereum ecosystem, especially in the face of two facts. L2s progressed to stage 2 and secondarily on Intertop. I guarantee there's going to be words in here. I have no idea what they are.
Interoperability.
My bad. Has been far slower and more difficult than originally expected. L1 itself is scaling. Fees are very low and gas limits are projected to increase greatly in 2026. Both of these facts, for their own separate reasons, mean that the original vision of L2s and their role in Ethereum no longer makes sense, and we need a new path. Finally, good to hear him say that. He says, let's recap the original vision. Ethereum needs to scale. The definition of Ethereum scaling is the existence of large quantities of block space that is backed by the full faith and credit of Ethereum. That is block space where if you do things, including with ETH, inside that space, your activities are guaranteed to be valid, uncensored, unreverted, untouched, as long as Ethereum itself functions. If you create 1,000 TPS EVM, where its connection to L1 is mediated by multi-sig bridge, then you are not scaling Ethereum. This vision no longer makes sense. L1 does not need L2s to be branded shards because L1 is self-scaling. L2s are not able or willing to satisfy the properties that a true branded shard would require. I've even seen at least one explicitly saying that they may never want to go beyond stage 1, not just for technical reasons about ZK EVM safety, but also because their customers' regulatory needs require them to have ultimate control. This may be doing the right thing for our customers, but it should be obvious that if you are doing this, then you are not scaling Ethereum in the sense meant by the rollup centric roadmap. But that's fine. It's fine because Ethereum itself is now scaling directly on the L1 with large planned increases to its gas limit this year and the years ahead. We should stop thinking about L2 as literally being branded shards of Ethereum with the social status and responsibilities that entails. Instead, we could think of L2s as being a full spectrum, which includes both chains backed by the full faith and credit of Ethereum with various unique properties, blah, 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 free to care about or not care about depending on their needs. What would I do today if I were an L2? Identify a value add other than scaling. I'm just going to jump to the next bullet point. Be stage 1 at the minimum. Otherwise, you really are just a separate L1 with a bridge, and you should just call yourself that if you're doing things with ETH or other Ethereum issued assets. Support maximum interoperability with Ethereum, though this will differ to each one. And then he says, from Ethereum side, over the past few months, I've become more convinced of the value of the native rollup pre-compile, particularly once we have enshrined ZK EVM proofs that we need a way to scale L1. This is a pre-compile that verifies the ZK EVM proof, and that's part of Ethereum. It auto upgrades along with Ethereum, and if the pre-compile has a bug, Ethereum will hard fork to fix the bug. It's an interesting thing too. I think this is the last paragraph. Where are we at here? No.
There's a lot more.
Yeah, I'm not reading that. So okay. So wait. So this will make it easy to make, summing it up, easy to have safe, strong, trustless interoperability with Ethereum. It also enables synchronous composability. And from here, each L2's choice exactly what they want to build. Don't just extend L1, figure out something new to add. This, of course, means that some will add things that are trust dependent or backdoored or otherwise insecure. This is unavoidable in a permissionless ecosystem where developers have freedom. Our job should make it clear to users that guarantees they have and build up the strongest Ethereum that we can. So long story short, after all this time, been a couple years now, we have Arbitrum, Optimism. There's a ton. I don't remember all of them, but layer twos that have really not done well at all. That pose security risks and all kinds of different things. Richard Hart's really, since their origination, talked about them not being a good idea. And here's Vitalik, after all this, passing the peace pipe with them for so long, saying this finally. So awesome to see. Better late than never, I guess. But yeah, what do you make of this now that Ethereum, couldn't even make an all-time high this cycle and is down to 2K again, Vitalik?
Well, I have to add and share this tab as well when we're talking about this, because this was from February 3rd. The original post from Richard was from like February of last year.
Yeah.
Where did that post go? I want to see.
I think you're on a picture of the post and it's not showing the original post date, maybe.
Yeah,
but I know he's talked about this a long time ago.
So this was February 6th of 2025. So last year, he's talking about the layer 2 and the lemonade stand. And if you haven't read this post, go back and read it. But what he's saying essentially is, you have a lemonade stand here, you have another one, it's busy, so you open up another one, you sell them cheap lemonade, they make more than you do, and you're screwing yourself out of the original profit that you once had. That's what he's comparing it to. And I think Vitalik is finally understanding that the L2s have taken too much of the share away, taking the value of the actual improvements that they've made. They're basically making them worthless. So I'm glad he's realizing it, and the fact that it's actually hurting the Ethereum price. So good to see that. I'm glad. I mean, I know they have 2 more big updates that are to come this year. I know there's one very, very soon. They're actually both hard forks. And somebody had mentioned earlier today in a conversation, does that mean that we get copies of everything because of the hard fork? And the answer to that is no. It won't fork that way. When something hard forks, there's usually an agreement that's made beforehand which chain will be picked up by the validators, and it just kind of keeps ticking on. The other one dies, right? So that's how this works. Now, if they don't agree, that's when you end up with a split chain and people still supporting both, and that's how ETH Classic kind of started, and that's how Richard kind of did PulseChain, was by forking Ethereum as well, but that wasn't really an internal fork. That was a secondary off, a different fork. So but yeah, I'm glad that he's finally realizing it. You've got to build value. You've got to take what they're doing, charge them more. You might as well, because they're still making out with the charges that happen internally. before the shards actually settle on the main chain. They're taking fees over there. Maybe they're a lot less, but they're still making more because it's taking it off the main chain. So glad to see he's realizing it. Glad to see they're doing something about it, and hopefully this can, none of us want to see expensive fees, right? We do want to see a busy network. A busy network means lots of things are happening. So that is good for the overall ecosystem. And, you do have a lot more fees. That means you give people a reason to buy it. When the fees are cheap and nothing's happening and you can do a transaction for very, very little, it doesn't give people the incentive to buy more of it. Seeing the same thing in PulseChain right now. People aren't buying it because it's so cheap. We a lot of us have some. You have $100 worth of PulseChain will make your transactions go forever. So, was that ever the intention for change the subject? Sorry, let's get back on this. Anyway, we want to see a busy network. It leads to the price of everything going up, right? The rising tide lifts all boats. So. So yeah, this is exciting to see. I'm very excited to see what comes of it and how these upgrades play out. And thank you, Hex Girl, for the donation. That was nice.
Yes, Hex Girl, you are a consistent viewer. We love you. Thank you very much for the super chat. I appreciate you being here every single week. Yeah, I mean, let's hope that this is a new bastion of what's to come for Ethereum, and that Vitalik is, realizing. I think it's an interesting thing because Ethereum was so wildly beyond anybody's wildest dreams successful for so long that he kind of just stepped back, didn't give a shit. Not that he's like lazy, but it's like, what am I really needed for? Sure, L2s, whatever. And now he's got a lot of really pissed off people, basically, that care about Ethereum. It's a unicorn, one of the best innovations in maybe the best actually in the history of crypto, and
for sure.
For him to kind of just bow out seems wrong. So I'm glad that he's, grabbing the bull by the horns here, sees this, maybe learns this lesson a couple years later, and is being more involved. I am excited about these upgrades, and yeah, I mean, it's time for Ethereum to turn it around. I mean, everybody's shitting on it everywhere. Obviously, if you're holding Ethereum in 2026, you're a complete idiot. Blah 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 blah. Yeah. So I mean, this again, to the points we were making earlier in the show about like macroeconomics, all that lining up with if this is a sea change for Vitalik. Ethereum maybe doing something kind of good for once. We'll see.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, I agree. Good stuff from Ethereum. That is that. Let's talk about this Coast thing. So we have talked about this here and there the last few weeks, but there's been further and further developments here over the last few days, including a Richard Hart post about ZeroX Coast. So if you're somehow new to what ZeroX Coast is, it's one of the ways, I will say, to get onboarded into the PulseChain ecosystem. And here's the biggest, if you want a headline with the biggest benefit about using ZeroX Coast to get into PulseChain, you don't have to go through one of the big centralized exchanges. So you don't have to deal with Coinbase. You don't have to deal with Kraken or anything like that. Is Coast technically a CEX? Yeah, but it is actually easier to get into PulseChain and quicker if you want to by using them. Ewok and I have been proponents of them for a long time. I think I know you and I both have an Old Glory bank account. Coast is partnered with Old Glory Bank, who is very open to crypto and pro-America and all these kind of things, to where essentially I will say it's one of the best things about Coast is if you have money in Old Glory Bank, you can deposit it right onto the Coast platform. And then you used to, and this is what we're going to get into, be able to mint the Coast CST stable coin to then swap into the asset of your choice. Or what is presently still available on the site, you can just go right in with your USD that you imported there and swap it for PulseX, Hex, whatever you want to. So that is all still there. Now, you don't have to have an Old Glory bank account. It is the easiest way by far. But you could have another bank account. You can wire it in, many different things. But Old Glory Bank's definitely the way to go. All that to say, over the last few months, they have been having issues with regulatory stuff when it comes to stablecoins. And we have seen, you and I always talked about, I was talking about a year ago, why is the CST coin always like 97.5 cents? Why is it always 98 cents? Because like you put your money in, you would mint CST and lose a lot. I mean, a not insignificant amount of your money instantly just by minting it because you're not getting it for $1. So, yeah, you, depending on how much you're putting in, you're losing 15, 20, 50, $100 or something like that just by minting it. So recently, that is the chart that Ewok has on the screen of a stable coin. So that is, and not PDI. PDI is going the other direction, actually. But Coast is depegged, if you want to use that term. Wow, I didn't know it was that low. Oh my God, it's at 35 cents now. So it had been $1 or 97, 98 cents really for a long time. And we're seeing this now. Now they removed the mint function a while back. Stoic and the guys at Coast have said it is because of this legal clarity and, we can't really use it. And yeah, it's been at 75 cents. They first, I think that's when the attention first started getting paid to it. Now it's the whole way down to 35 cents, garnering a post from Richard Hart I think it was this morning actually, where he just simply said, what's going on? Yeah, he just said, what's going on with ZeroX Coast? That's pretty much it. And then people replying with the answers that it's regulatory stuff for stable coins and everything. So the platform still works as it has. We haven't been able to mint the CST token in forever anyway, so that hasn't changed. But this is kind of a big deal. And then we saw, and I'm glad that, I don't know if it was Stoic himself or what account it came from, that posted this big post about it today, kind of in response to Richard Hart. Yeah, so this came from the official Coast account here. You mind summarizing this one? My throat's getting a little...
Sure, no problem. It says, hey, everyone, we want to give you all an important update in direct response to the evolving federal Genius and Clarity and State Money Transmission Modernization Act regulatory environment here in the U.S. Coast is in the process of changing how and for whom our business operates. These pieces of legislation make delivering a stablecoin-based independent fiat on-ramping product for PulseChain cost prohibitive. So despite our best efforts to run as a stablecoin, we will be moving on to a novel and hopefully more robust model. Buy and sell plus deposit withdrawal are still operational for most users worldwide. However, as many have noticed, the ability to mint burn Coast is no longer available. This change happened in the middle of 2025, but we can say with absolute certainty now that it will not be returning. The buy-sell feature is currently utilizing a floating CST price. This change was implemented in December of 25 and has dramatically improved the order execution for users seeking to obtain Pulse, PulseX, Hex, and Ink. The use of a floating price asset for the buy-sell feature is absolutely essential for us to continue operating any services for PulseChain. For further updates, please follow our company accounts on X and Telegram. Thank you. So basically what they're saying is, and Broke Boy and I both noticed this some time ago, that the mint function had disappeared. It was the middle of last year. We didn't really raise too big of a flag. However, we did ask in the chat. I asked Stoic or whoever it was. I think Stoic was on vacation when I asked this. And I said, what happened to the minting of Coast? And they said, well, mostly can't talk about it, but it's because of the Genius Act. And that was the stable coin thing. He said, more to come. I can't really get into it. We just don't have legal clarity. We're not going to push it. We want to maintain this ability to basically service people using a real bank that's easy to get in and out of. And we don't want to step on toes, is essentially what they said. Those are in my words, not theirs. But at that point, it was like, okay, well, it's still easy to get money in and out. We can still buy the token right away. They do have a little bit of a fee, and I'm you know, it is what it is, right? Every exchange that you use, you're gonna have a fee. So you do pay that, and it is kind of hidden. And I know you've commented on it. We know we've kind of argued back and forth how the percentage can change, and sometimes you can get a much better deal. Obviously, check it out. Go where the better option is. That's always what I say, or more convenient to you. If you don't mind paying an extra percentage or two, then go where it's more convenient, I guess. So anyway, that's where we're at. And now, essentially you just go in, you put your USD in your Coast account, and you can buy many things. I noticed recently you can buy the weight token, or is it weight?
I think so. Yeah, I think you can. Yeah, I think that's one of them.
Yeah. So the weight token, which was one of their original tokens, Hex, obviously, PulseX incentive. I think you can even buy the Old Glory has a token as well, OGB. That allows shares, and so I mean, there's all kind of things that you can buy. So either way, they're still in business. It's just the fact that the CST token can no longer be minted. Therefore, there can no longer be any kind of arbitrage opportunity for them to buy it up and to keep it as a stable, as a stable coin. So when everybody sells, another thing was a lot of the stable coin pools that Coast was tied to other things. I always noticed, and it was funny that it was an 80-20. It's on like a balancer type thing on the PH side of things, where you may be putting 80% Tether, 20% Coast. It was never 50-50. And I always kind of questioned that, like, why? And maybe this is why. Maybe because it was never on chain backed. I've seen people out there say, well, yes, no wonder that there's 13 million of these things, and the ledger only shows whatever it was, $100,000 backing. That those numbers aren't right, but you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
They were an off-chain balanced system. It was never meant to be on chain. Like, there was never $1 USDT that backed $1 of CST. So I think people were misled there. I'm sure anytime that one was minted, there is $1 there for that somewhere to cash right back out. So it just was not held on chain. So again, you are at the mercy of the middlemen, that created this. So be aware of that. But now, obviously, one Coast does not equal $1. So hopefully there weren't a bunch of people just sitting on them, holding them. If there were, I would probably attempt to get what you can for it, because they're no longer available to mint. I think they know this is going to go to zero eventually. So yeah, if you're holding any of these, my suggestion would be to unload them as quickly as possible. I don't recommend playing this as a will it come back. They said it's done. It's no longer available. So I don't recommend that play of buying it now and holding it to get back to $1, because it's probably not likely.
Yeah. Let me ask you a question about the float thing in there. So do you think they mean by that? So when you make a buy, like, again, you're never really seeing that you're interacting with the CST token or anything. Do they mean for like liquidity purpose and stuff? When you make a buy, say you're going from your USD into Pulse, are they saying that it's then passing through the CST at that moment, basically? And that's, because it's a, what word do they use again? The floating price, like that's how they're using it?
Well, I think anywhere, the more I looked into it, I think the float is like anywhere like Coinbase. So if you buy a Bitcoin on Coinbase, you're paying more
And yeah, I got you.
So you're paying the spread, right? You know, just in case something happens in between your purchase and their ability to whatever to do. I mean, they're holding liquidity. That's what I think the float is. And then if you sell it, obviously you're probably not going to get full price. It's going to be a percentage lower. It's just like I was talking earlier, is buying and selling gold. You're going to get a bad price on the spot, and that's what that means, is there's a float. So you know, that's what they have to do. And then, you know, there is I think it's a 1% fee to anything you buy. You're paying a percentage just fee straight up for the transaction itself. So
right. Which begs one other question, but one thing I was going to say first. So one point you were making, I do think, even if this renders this getting into this way of onboarding into the ecosystem to you, the individual, like you don't want to do it as much, I do still think like withdrawing through them is probably pretty advantageous, because you think now this requires prices for crypto to go up, which I don't think is something that happens anymore. But if it does, and you're ever able to actually sell at a gain, and you're like, you know what, I want to put a little bit of that into dirty fiat for a minute so I can go buy something I want to, or whatever it is. I do think it's such a safer option to be on Coast. If you have an Old Glory Bank account, you've got the USD sitting on there, and you just send it right into Old Glory Bank. You made that point to me earlier today, and I do think for withdrawing, you can't get better than that. I mean, I would definitely want to do that before I would want to sell into USDC on Pulse, bridge to Ethereum, pay the claim fee on Ethereum to get my USDC, send to Coinbase, and then see when I'm allowed to withdraw from Coinbase and how much, you know?
Yep, exactly. And that was my fear. Like I did just that not long ago. I took some out, harvested some losses, basically is what I did for tax purposes. It was right at the end of the year. And I wanted to see how easy it was. And it was pretty slick. So it went right out. It didn't hold. It was right in my old, I mean, you press the button, it's in your Old Glory account. So you didn't have to worry about Coinbase holding anything. You know, I haven't used Coinbase to bring money back out in forever. And I was worried by doing that will they still recognize me? Will they put my account on hold? And you know, how long do I have to fight them? I remember horror stories the last cycle about people trying to cash money out into their Coinbase, and they just held it for months and months and months. There was a guy that was having a wedding, and he tried to take some money out, couldn't get it. It was like months and months before he was able to do anything. And that's kind of what I was worried about. So
yeah, it definitely for really the CST thing doesn't matter to me very much. I mean, it's really not what it's about. It's just as you mentioned, it's always having different options in terms of how to get into the ecosystem. Like right here, Super Snake says Liberty Swap, Base, Coinbase, Bank. Yeah, so that you can use Liberty Swap if you want to go through an exchange. There's many different ways to do this, and it's whatever you prefer. Some people are not worried about, oh, what if an exchange holds my tokens or whatever. Some people want to pay less fees. It's just up to the individual, and it's good to have different options like this. So I feel like when there was something you said with Coast, I had one more question for you, but I'm forgetting what it was. You said something a minute ago, and I said that begs another question, and now I'm forgetting. So how there's a 1% fee on everything. Do you think there's even a point in having the weight tokens locked up on Coast anymore? Because I don't think I know that old fee structure is gone. Like it isn't 0.25% for everything anymore or anything.
Yeah, I don't know. And you know, I did ask that as well. Is it still benefit? And they said there are changes coming. So I don't know if they're going to be implementing those structural fee changes for the more weight that you keep staked. You know, I have it in there. It's not worth a whole lot right now. There's no point in taking it out. Exactly. Because when you do unstake, I believe there's a penalty. You lose a few percent of it. So just keep that in mind. They might as well leave it in there and see what they end up doing with it, if there is some sort of fee reduction for having it. So, again, unless you need it, but there's no point in moving it, as far as I'm concerned.
And that could be a big deal eventually. I mean, if there ever is a bull market in the next 30 years and you want to use it, the having less fees to pay when you're cashing out maybe larger amounts of money that you didn't have before would be really advantageous. So, yeah, overall, I don't want to call it a nothing burger, but we haven't been using the stable coin anyway for a while. So, understandable from them. And I'm glad that we do have the link of Old Glory Bank with them for sure.
Yep. Yeah, it's been since June of last year. So this isn't a new thing. I guess Richard just probably caught the price of the CST token dropping. And it was like, hey, yo, what's up with this kind of thing? So,
yeah,
because I know he does list it. I think it's on the PulseX, maybe. The PulseX homepage has a direct link right to Coast.
Yeah, he's definitely been aware of it before. So
yeah,
you're right. It is on there. Buy tokens, ZeroXCoast.com. So still on there. Okay, well, I think that pretty much wraps up that, and really all the main things we wanted to talk about. Is there any final thoughts that you had this week, Ewok?
Yeah, well, there was the whole Binance thing. I don't know if we really want to get into that or not. Just
push it to next week if we want to really get into it and at length, because I think it might require that. But
let's put it this way: if you have funds on Binance that are sitting on Binance and you have the ability to take them off until this whole thing blows over to see if it's real or not, do some research, look into it. You may want to pull them off. There's rumors floating around of its insolvency. So just a warning for people. I don't know who has heard of it or not, but it doesn't hurt. Don't leave stuff on exchanges anyway. That's kind of been the rule of thumb. So that's all I wanted to bring up.
Yeah, definitely. Dukaboos, we will be seeing you very soon, my friend. So cheers to you as well. And great show tonight. A lot of topics, a lot of very interesting things. If you are just tuning in late, I would go back and watch the first 40 minutes or so where we talked about all the macro stuff, because just so many angles happening at once, and really like just a convalescence of like 3 different big things that typically lead to bullish things that probably won't now, because that's just the way things have been going. But there's a lot of good stuff seemingly in the pike. We'll see if it matters for crypto.
I did have one other thing too. I know RH Max has a conference coming up soon. I forget what the dates are, Max, if you want to throw it in the chat.
I don't know if he's still here, but yeah,
he was here earlier. Crypto 7 had a little thing last week with a conference on his channel. So yeah, I mean, there are things happening. So hang in there, guys. I say it every week. Things have to get better, but
RH Max, it's the Prove X conference. Actually, I think it starts maybe by this weekend. Actually, so yeah, that's cool to see as well. And I hope it'd be cool. I think it'd be cool if the Fiat guys were there. I don't know if Buck and Dylan are going to talk, but that would be definitely cool to see. So yeah. Anyway, so. Appreciate all you guys in the chat. Very active tonight. DJ Moonboy, Hex Girl, thank you for the super chat. Leechster, Dukaboos, of course. Super Snake, Valiant Low Key, Fish Cracker, Johnny Chaos was here. RH Max, Tam was here earlier. Eddie, man, doing the yeoman's work out in Arizona. So thank you very much to you. And a whole lot more of you. So thank you all very much. We do this every Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm sure we'll have a whole slew of new things to talk about next week when Bitcoin is at 55K and ETH is at $5. So appreciate all of you guys. As we head in, I have to get out of here. I got to go clock in down the street. I got a shift 8 p.m. to midnight here at the Burger King. I am on Burger Boy duty tonight. So appreciate all you guys. Thank you to Ewok. This has been Burger King Boy Crypto for Crypto Ewok on the Creative Crypto.
See you guys.